boy. What a victory. What a victory, right? I mean, Sunday afternoon. Who saw this coming? I don't think anybody saw this coming. I don't remember seeing one prediction, one person that came out and said, at least none of us vidmakers and anybody who reports on this football team, none of the experts I saw that had this game pegged for being a loss for Seattle. Not even I had picked us to win this game. I didn't even do a video for a review because this, even though I did not think Seattle was as good as a lot of these people thought that they were, I knew that they weren't facing the actual lineup of the Washington Redskins football team. There were so many people on this team that were not here week one, out on that football field starting, that would have changed what I felt would have been the outlook of the football game, and I still feel that way. If we would have had some of our injured individuals out there on the football field contributing, this game would have gone much differently. But the first thing I want to address is the fans. I want to thank the fans, the people who showed up in droves at CenturyLink Field in Seattle. You don't see that. You don't see that a whole lot. And I'm saying this, and I'm going to quantify this as somebody who probably knows a little bit about what he is talking about, because over the last 3 or 4 years, I have been at a handful of games in CenturyLink Field to watch games. I am not a Seahawk fan by any stretch of the imagination, and anybody who knows me will tell you that I am not a Seahawk fan by any stretch of the imagination. I am not somebody who follows that bandwagon. There's only one team that I like, and that is it. There's other teams that I watch, but there's only one team that I approve of. And I go to Seahawk games because I have a healthy number of friends who are Seahawk fans that would rather go to a football game with somebody who appreciates the sport of football. And give it any number of excuses that you want, but I've heard people say that they've taken friends who don't know anything about football, that don't enjoy the experience nearly as much, or they just want to go without their wives because they want to sit there explaining the game. They want to sit there and drink beer and just enjoy watching it without having to, explain. And to go with somebody who knows a little bit about football is, I suppose, a much more pleasurable experience. But if somebody's going to wave Seahawk tickets in my face to go watch, I will go. I will go because even though I have a love for the burgundy and gold, I love the sport of football, and I love to go to live sporting events. There's a couple of things that I don't like about going to live sporting events, but that is something that exists everywhere as opposed to just one particular place. But I know from personal experience what it is like to go to a Seahawks game and literally understand why that stadium is the way that it is. And I'm telling you, and I've mentioned this before, this area is saturated with Seahawk fans because there is no competition up here. You've got to go 2 states away to find the next NFL football team. Not the next rival, but the next football team. The closest rival to them is clear down to San Francisco. So there really is nobody up here to help desaturate this fan base. So this fan base is surrounded by 2 states and a country that has this open market to spread their 12-man gibberish as far and as wide as the eye can see. But I have been to several Seahawk games, and I know not very many of the opposing team's fans show up. It's about ticket availability, and when you don't have ticket availability, you don't have a whole lot of your fans that are going to show up to the game. There were a ton of Redskin fans in this football stadium in this game, and if you were at this game, you don't necessarily agree with me, then I challenge you to go to more Seahawk games. I was at a Seahawk game a year ago to watch the St. Louis Rams play, and I've been to other games prior to that. I went to the game where they broke the seismic meter record, Monday Night Football game against New Orleans a couple of years ago. And I remember on several occasions going to these stadiums, counting how many of the opposing team's fans I would see. The St. Louis Rams game that I went to, the number of fans I saw, and how I quantified this was as soon as I walked through those doors. Now, I'm not talking parking lot. You can show up in the parking lot all you want. That doesn't mean that you're at the game. But the minute you make it through that ticket booth and you go to find your seat, the minute I pass the ticket booth, I'm counting fans. And by fans, I mean wearing any paraphernalia on your exterior. I don't give a damn what's in your soul and in your heart. But whatever it is you have on your exterior, could be a hat, could be a scarf, could be a coat, could be gloves, could be anything that shows your allegiance to your team. I'm going to count you as a fan. And I don't think the fans that day breached into the double digits. And I'm serious about that. I don't think I got past the number 10. I think I was probably around anywhere from 6 to 7 fans in the entire, 60,000 seat stadium? I think I got about 6 or 7 fans, and that was during the halftime and before and after the game, walking around in the promenade area and all over that stadium. That's all I saw. You just don't see opposing teams' fans go to these football games. And to look on the monitor and see just a good, healthy smattering of Redskin fans that showed up. Mind you, in the 2000s, both playoff games that Joe Gibbs had appeared at in Seattle that we lost, I was at both of those games, and there was not that healthy of an appearance. So it just doesn't happen. And the only thing I can attribute that to is that I think there are a lot of Seahawk fans that saw this as a victory. And why go to a game that's going to be a barn burner where you can just sell the tickets and make a little bit of money back, on your season ticket purchase, which is what a lot of season ticket holders do. And those tickets often get bought up by members of the opposing team's fans, which is fine. But I like to see a good, healthy number of fans from the Washington Redskin fan base show up at this football game. So my hat's off to you guys. This football game, if you guys recall in previous videos, I had actually said I was expecting us to actually show a little bit of an upset in this football game because I didn't think Seattle was as good as people thought they were. I saw this as a victory. I counted us as probably winning this game, coming up here to Seattle to finally get a victory. But this was back when we were healthy. I made this prediction before Oakland. So ever since Oakland, we have been dropping like flies. And people who have been texting me about this football game prior, I told them, I said, look, this is going to be a barn burner because you're just not facing our team. We have people that are in that locker room who haven't been in that locker room for more than a week, that have not been on this football team for more than a week, who introduced themselves to the quarterback on the day of the football game last week. So you're not facing us. You're not facing against our big all-pro left tackle. So you're going to be moving Michael Bennett towards that left side all night, and you're going to get through because you're not facing our actual offensive line. 3 of our offensive linemen who are still holding hands on the sidelines nursing injuries are going to be watching this football game. And you're going up against so-and-so the tire salesman, so-and-so the bakersman, so-and-so whoever. And we actually squeezed out a victory. Wow. Missed field goals. Let's get to that. If you make these field goals, the outlook of this football game changes. I would admit this football game would have been a little bit closer. Would Seattle have won? I don't know. Neither team was playing all that well on offense. Seattle was marching up and down the football field a lot more, but given a couple of plays on each series, they would end up having to punt the football. We had a really hard time with 3 and outs. We had a hard time on first down. A really tough time on first down. We tried running in the first quarter on first down. That was getting us nowhere. And then we ended up going back to what Jay Gruden's comfortable with, and that's passing the football on first down. And that was even worse. The problem was that I would just prefer to go back to running the football on first down. If you make no gain or lose 1 yard, well, then it's 2nd and 11. Not 2nd and 15. Now 2nd and 20. So I kind of had a little bit of a problem throwing against the legion of, I don't know, what are they calling themselves now? I don't know. But I had a problem throwing on first down as often as we did. I would like to have seen us give the ball a little bit more to Chris Thompson on first down. But it's tough to do anything on that football team when they have momentum on defense. Now, the The Perine fumble situation didn't help us at all. That does not help out Perine's situation. I'm not really all that sold on Perine. I'm not all that sold on Rob Kelly, to tell you the truth. We don't have a real true blue north and south running back on this football team. There were alleys and avenues and windows in which I felt the running back should have been able to have seen and gone through. Kelly's got vision problems. And I don't mean his eyesight's poor. I just mean his peripheral vision to notice daylight and to run to daylight is askew. It's not where it should be. He does not see things that a lot of running backs see. And I don't see a whole lot of head movement on his part. Watch Rob Kelly run. And the minute he gets to that offensive line, how often are you seeing his head moving left to right? You know, and it's subtle movements, too, that a lot of running backs give you. They're not giving the full-blown, 9-degree turn on his head. It's just the subtle movement left and right. I don't see it. He sees just a little pocket, and he goes through it. And the thing is, windows, as a running back, open up all the time. They open and close all the time. Your opportunity as a running back to run through daylight gets shorter and shorter and shorter the higher and higher level of football that you play. And I'm imagining, because I have no idea what it's like to play running back in the NFL, I am imagining that those pockets of opportunity are open for just a split second, and you have to be able to see them. Peripheral vision and with your direct eyesight, and I don't see a whole lot of that vision from either Perine or Kelly. But they're duty runners at this point. They're what we have, and I'm willing to take them. But we have a great potential in Thomas. And I think he is... we've been searching for a running back like him since, I don't know, since forever. We've been searching for a good little scat back that we can throw the football to out on a screen and just get massive chunk yardage for it. A guy who can catch the football and can run and can sprint with the best of them. We've been looking for that guy. I'd like to see us use him a little bit more. The Kendall Fuller interception. That was... I mean, it was shades of the Super Bowl with Butler, Malcolm Butler all over again. That's exactly what it reminded me of, and I brought that up, and then they brought that up in the telecast later on. But that Fuller interception was just like that. He jumped that route, and from what I understand, if you saw Mason Foster's Twitter response, he puts in a lot of time in film, and that is one of those moments, one of those very, very minuscule moments where watching film truly pays off. And that's good to see. It's good to see that he's doing everything that he can in his off time to try to become a better football player, because Lord knows he has needed every single ounce off that football field to help him get on and perform on that football field. So that was a great, great heads-up play on Kendall Fuller's part. Unfortunately, on our offense, we were unable to capitalize on those great turnovers. We had the fumble in the first half that we ended up recovering. We did not convert. We had this interception by Fuller. Offense came in, did not convert. In fact, we went 3 and out on that. That's something that you can't see. If you want to be a successful football franchise on offense, you have to be able to capitalize on mistakes on the opposing offensive side. They give you these freebies with good field position. You need to be able to capitalize on that. And I'll give it to you. Seattle's not an easy place to play. It is a very, very difficult place to play. But all that notwithstanding, something you got to take advantage of. I didn't write too many notes on this game. There was just a lot of passion that went into this victory, as far as I'm concerned. So that was. It's taken me a couple days to really come down and sort of decelerate from this victory in Seattle. One of the things I want to bring up is the Kirk Cousins performance situation. Kirk Cousins, Kirk's performance, as far as I'm concerned, was great. I thought it was wonderful. And I'll tell you why. You're taking a look at his statistics. Went 21 for 31. Let's see what he threw for. He threw for 247 yards. 247 yards in Seattle. I challenge anybody to give me those types of statistics in CenturyLink Field in the last 10 years. We haven't had a quarterback that's done that. And mind you, we've had playoff caliber football teams that have played in Seattle within the last 10 years that have gone to Seattle that have put together much, much more piss poor performances. But Kirk Cousins ended up getting sacked 6 times, did not turn the ball over once on any of those sacks, did not throw an interception at all. Actually, did he fumble the football? I think he did on one, I can't remember. But he didn't throw any interceptions, got sacked 6 times for a total loss of 54 yards, but still came out with a QBR of 91.7, a much better QBR than Russell Wilson put out, even though in my opinion Russell played a little bit better. Russell had, it seemed to be, I don't know, Russell had his own problems. And I'm not going to go into it because this is not a Seahawks channel. But I felt Kirk's performance, he threw the ball away when he had to. He didn't cough the pill up too many times when he got sacked. He didn't throw to people who were in double coverage, not against that defense. You just don't do that. I was a little worried about the snap that got bobbled, and he ended up putting it into, I think it was Perine's hands. Perine or Kelly? I think it was Kelly's hands. Now that I think about it. I was a little worried about that. I thought that was going to be a major foobar on our part and another turnover. Vernon Davis turned it up in this game. Vernon Davis is really giving us a reason to sign him back. He has been for the last couple of weeks, but to be able to go into Seattle and to perform at this level is a true indication of the veteran experience that he brings on this football team, and he's really, really shouldering a lot of the load at tight end for us right now, so huge kudos to him with 6 yards, 72, 6 receptions with 72 yards total. He was averaging, it says right here, he was averaging 12 yards on those receptions, so that was a great job on his part. Josh Doctson ended up having 3 receptions in this football game, and a couple of those on, one of those on an out route. Beautiful pass by Kirk Cousins. I want to see, in given coverages and schemes, I want to see a lot more of that. That sideline back shoulder throw. That is what, and Kirk doesn't throw a lot of those. Kirk likes to throw lasers. He doesn't give you the up and over too much. He doesn't lob that ball up to come down on top of the pocket, and I'm not talking deep balls. You know, that the long bomb is different. But that up and over towards the sideline, I like to see those types of passes, and I honestly think that we have 2 very talented receivers who you can do that with, especially in a Terrell Pryor. I don't think anybody can really match up to a Terrell Pryor, and that's assuming the greatest thing that you can do is not being counted for, and that's catching the football. But Vernon Davis, Josh Doctson, and even Terrell Pryor had some catches. Brian Quick had 3 receptions in this game. Ryan Grant had 3 receptions in this game. Terrell Pryor had 2 receptions in this game. Our wide receivers in this game did really well. You'd like to see a little bit more, but this is a great launching off spot. I like to see this as a build-up. If you can do this in Seattle, you can do this anywhere, especially at home. So our wide receivers stepped up a little bit this week, and that was something that had to happen. Somebody somewhere had to step up tremendously for a victory to be called upon in Seattle, and that was very unassuming. A lot of us didn't necessarily think that was going to happen. As far as rushing goes, Chris Thompson had 4 carries for 20 yards. Only 20 yards. Kelly had a good smattering of carries in this game, 14 carries, but he only had 18 yards. He averaged 1.3 yards a carry, and I'd say that's a very generous 1.3. Kirk Cousins ended up fumbling twice in this football game, but he only lost 1. Not good, but he got sacked a lot, and against this offensive line, I'm going to comment on the offensive line. I felt the offensive line did a phenomenal job, and I say they did a phenomenal job because they went up against a very good defense. A very good defense. And I'm sorry, I've been at these football games, guys, with the Washington Redskins, and even with a playoff caliber defense. I was there when Sean Taylor was playing. Okay, I was there, you know, when we had guys back there like, LeVar Arrington, and I remember Marcus Washington, and we had these. That was a much better defense, you know, for that particular team that went in and just got destroyed against the playoff caliber Seahawk team. And I know with this, when you go up against the Michael Bennett's, the Bobby Wagners, the KJ Wrights, the Richard Shermans, when you go up against those types of individuals, when they get momentum, it is extremely difficult to go anywhere and do anything. They show you out real quick up there in Seattle, real quick. And our offensive line, I felt, given the the hodgepodge, mixture, this tapestry of parking lot talent to come in and be able to do what they did against that defense. There's going to be times when the when the dam is going to break, and then there's going to be times when it's going to hold, and you want it just to hold long enough to get that football out, and you're praying and you're hoping. There were blitzes and there were stunts that this offensive line actually picked up, and then there were just straight rushes that they didn't. A lot of this is inexperience, and mind you guys, how many false start penalties did we have in this game? 1? You don't see that. Seattle's offensive line, which has no excuse whatsoever to get these false start penalties, had tons of penalties in this football game, and I don't even have that statistic on me right now as far as how many penalties they had. I'm pretty sure that I can grab it somewhere, but I mean, they had a ton of penalties in this football game that really, really affected the outcome of their game. But you know what? It's been like that all season long. All season long, they've had this issue. And that was one of the reasons why I felt that we had a really good shot at coming into Seattle a couple of weeks ago and winning. 16 penalties. 16 penalties and, 3 missed field goals? You're not going to win a football game like that. Plus, a couple interceptions. Which brings me full circle to Compton. I have harped on Compton's play all last season. I couldn't wait to get rid of him. Keeping him on the team I felt was a good thing. Will Compton was a guy that, a great leader, great presence, good at marshaling his players together. It was a staple on this football team, but I questioned his talent. I called him out on his talent and his lack of attacking the point of attack of the line of scrimmage. He still has that problem. But his performance in this football game, to come in on solo tackles and gang tackles, was phenomenal. He did a good job, and he did a great job dropping back into pass coverage. He's never been a slouch at pass coverage. Pass coverage and linebacker, he's a guy that can drop in his zone with some of the best of them and do a really, really good job. I have a problem with his lack of predicting the run and getting to the point of attack. And by that, I mean getting to the line of scrimmage and tackling for a loss or tackling for a no gain. He doesn't have that ability. He didn't necessarily have that ability in this game. By the time he makes contact with the running back's already gained 3 yards and giving forward momentum. By the time he comes to the ground, he's gained 5 yards. That happened a couple times in this football game. Shedding a block from an offensive lineman and tackling a running back. And yes, it's a big hit, and yes, it's a good stop, but the guy made 5 yards on us. That has always been the problem that I've had. And you watch as Zach Brown play, and right now Mason Foster's starting to get there. These guys will meet you at the line of scrimmage. They're that good at sniffing out a run, and they are quick. That's been part of my problem with Will Compton, and I felt that Will Compton was a better backup than he was a starter. But in this day and age, with the current climate in Washington, with our issues at injuries, which I'll be getting to here in a second, it's good to have a Will Compton in the back on the bench to come out in a situation like this and others to fill in for your Mason Fosters who were hurt. And it's doubtful. I don't even know if Mason Foster's even going to be back. He suffered a pretty significant injury for us, and that's extremely unfortunate. But that's the way that the ball bounces for us, honestly. One of the other things that the last series of this game, again, Davis comes up and really shows out for us in the last drive, and then the catch by Josh Doctson makes up for the blunder that he made in Kansas City. My opinion on that particular play, it's something that we all knew that Washington was going to go to again, and given the circumstances, we have a little bit of a gambler at head coach. We have a little bit of a gambler at offensive coordinator. We have a guy that is going to take chances downfield if given the opportunity. And that opportunity was given at the line of scrimmage. That was something that Kirk Cousins said later on this week, that if they got a certain coverage and Josh Doctson lining up against Seattle's rookie, they were going to take that shot downfield. And that was what they did, and it paid off. And it's one of those things where Kirk's got to hang it up and cross his fingers, and we did it. Instead of marching on the field, we got it back in pretty good chunk yardage time. And this is all with a minute 30. To come out and perform in that stadium under those conditions, it's impressive. It's impressive because it hasn't been done since this Seattle team has rebuilt itself and gone to playoffs and Super Bowls. A Washington team has not come in here and performed like this. Not even Mark Brunell, who had the playoff caliber team that he had behind him. Even he didn't have this type of a performance. I've seen a lot of quarterbacks for the Washington Redskins that have come in here that have gotten their tails kicked. And that wasn't necessarily this type of performance. I've seen, like I said, I've seen Mark Brunell come in here and really, really, really struggle. I would have liked to have seen Washington go in and play against Seattle on the road in Seattle when Robert Griffin III was good in 2012. But that didn't happen. That was probably the only really good team that I would have put up against Seattle. This particular team at the beginning of the season, I would have traveled to Seattle. But this hodgepodge group of offensive and defensive people, with as injured as this football team is, and you just don't march into Seattle with 3 brand new linemen and one of them being your left tackle and come out with a victory like this. It doesn't happen. Odds makers aren't going to put it in your favor. Experts aren't going to put it in your favor. And anybody who knows anything about the sport of football is not going to put it in your favor. And you know what? 9 out of 10 times you're going to be right. It's money. It's money in the bank. You bet on the winner. You bet on Seattle to win this game because Seattle just does not lose. What's Seattle's record at home? What is Russell Wilson's win-loss record at home? Not that he is completely responsible for the win-losses in Seattle, but he is responsible for a good chunk of it. So to see us go in and perform the way that we didn't give up too much. We went 3 and out a lot in this football game, but it's better than turnovers. It's better than forcing something and trying to make it happen. So I was really, really glad to see us go in with as a contender, go in with somebody who's got experience of being a champion, having no hope in hell to winning this match, knowing that we're going to be smart about our punches. We're going to take some really, really good punishment, but if we stand toe-to-toe with this individual towards the end of the rounds, and then we really turn it on a moment where it counts, we got a really good shot at winning this fight. And that's exactly what happened, is that we hung in there, and through just attrition, we were able to pretty much come out at the very end of this game and win it. Now, I'm going to talk about something a little bit different here. And this has been something that's been brewing for a couple of weeks. And it's really, really come up. It's something that I've noticed, especially with this victory. And I really have no standing really bringing this up. And I'm not an authority. Very, very few people actually listen to me, and that's fine. I don't mind that. I have a small group of fans that follow my channel and enjoy what it is the content that I put out there, and that's good. But one of the things that I'm concerned about has been just the overall climate from a Redskins fan base here on YouTube. And I'm not going to be calling out any names. I'm not going to call out channels. I'm not going to call out, I'm not going to be showing people links. I'm not going to be saying things specifically or in particular. And for those of you that I'm talking about, you're probably not even necessarily going to know that it is that I'm talking about you. But I'm a little concerned at this point. One of the things that drives me nuts is fans who don't know how to lose. And what drives me even more crazy are fans that don't know how to win. And I've always been the type of person who, given the egos that come with this sport, and I've played with a lot of egos. I've played with guys that have come out and run their mouth over and over all night and all day, and they're trying to get into your head. I've never really tried to be one of those individuals. I've never All the talking that I did was pretty much on the field. Before the field, off the field, I was never somebody who liked to talk all that much. I'm not sitting here saying that everybody should adhere to that policy. But I was somebody who went down on the football field and did it on my own, did my talking on my own, and I hated it when people would do my talking for me. And I hate it even more now that I'm to talking a bunch of hype and talking a bunch of crap on a sport that I absolutely have zero influence on. I don't have any influence on this football team, and neither do you. You don't have any influence on this football team. You're not out on that football field. You're not one of those 11 people, and trust me, those 11 people know who has an influence on that football field, and that's them. It's 10 other people, and that's it. Everybody else is just a mouthpiece. They're just talking out of both ends of their face, and you don't listen to those people. Even if they're hyping you up, you don't listen to those people, because the only people that know what it is you're going through are people that have been on that field or on that field currently with you, and that is it. Those are the only people that you play for. But not even the people on the sidelines do you really concern yourself with all that much, because nobody knows exactly what it is you're going through unless it's the people that are out there with you. So it's been hard for me. I watch every once in a while. I'll pick up on trash talking videos, and it's hard for me to watch some of those because you're talking about some of the biggest retards that talk a lot of smack but have zero influence on their football team. The only influence they have on their football team is the money that they dump into the organization, and that's about it. That's really the only influence, and they cheer. They cheer. And nobody glorifies your cheering more than the Seattle Seahawks do, which is ridiculous. But that's another video. I'm concerned with... Look, there are a lot of us out there that tell people that we don't mind constructive criticism, that we have an opinion, and that we are entitled to our opinion, and so are you. But here's the thing. You don't get to say those things and then turn around and call those people names when they give you their opinion. If you don't want them to give you an opinion, then shut your YouTube channel off. Shut your mouth and shut your video off. Nothing drives me more crazy. I got people that make comments to me that I don't agree with at all, but I don't criticize them for it. I respect you for your opinion. I'm not going to call you a douchebag when you give me your opinion that is adverse to mine, especially when I don't know what I'm talking about football. And another thing, if you win with style, win with class. You know, you don't need to act like a half-cocked jackass to win at anything. And how you celebrate and how you mourn a victory or a loss says a lot about the fan base that you represent. It says a lot about this football franchise, regardless of the fact that you don't have any influence on it. And it says a lot about me. About the team that I root for. And I root for the Washington Redskins, and you're going to have douchebags and retards and assholes on every single football team in this league. But when you put out a YouTube channel and a YouTube video and you are gloating about the fact that you've won, that's fine. But try to do it with a little bit of class. Don't come out here and start pointing finger in people's faces and rubbing people's noses. And I realize we have suffered a lot at the hands of the Seattle Seahawks, especially their fans. And trust me, very, very few of you have suffered the indignant experience of going to that stadium as a decked-out Redskins fan and being put through the humiliation that those fans put you through. To sit there and say, I deserve to do this. You do. You've got every right to celebrate the way that you celebrate. And I'm not sitting here saying that you can't. What I am saying is that it is a huge sign of character for you as an individual and for this football franchise and for its fan base, the way in which you celebrate. I sent out 2 text messages when we won this game. One was a dear friend of mine, the other one was my sister. And all I did was send them a logo. That's all I did. I sent them a logo, the Washington Redskins logo, and that was it. That was all I sent. And trust me, the laundry list of individuals that I deserve to rub their face in the mess that is the loss of the Washington Redskins organization is, very few people deserve that right more than I do. But I didn't take it. I didn't take that opportunity. I didn't move forward with that. And I didn't because I chose to win with a little bit of style, a little bit of class. Am I allowing them to get away with, this loss? I don't know, maybe. But a loss is a loss is a loss. I get to come back to this. To listen to a Hawks fan run their mouth about how awesome their team is, I get to come back to this game. And I get to make my points. I get to remind them of it later on down the road. But that's all I'm saying, guys. Try to win with a little bit of style, a little bit of class. You don't need to come out and F-bomb everything. You don't need to come out and disparage other people's fan bases and call them a whole bunch of names for a game they had no influence on, even though that's probably what they would necessarily do to you. And another thing, you don't need to come out and start running your mouth about how dumb and how stupid people of your own fan base is because they don't agree with you. I don't understand that mentality. I don't understand it at all. Don't sit there and say that you invite other people's opinions, and when they give you their opinions, you call them names. That makes no sense to me whatsoever. There's no greater sign of immaturity, and there's no greater sign of the lack of intelligence and calm and class than from an individual who acts in that way. And there's a couple of you guys that are out there that do that. And I realize that the emotions are running high, and I realize that you're basking in this victory, but at the end of the day, you don't want to be that football player that goes out there and punches some dude in the face when somebody pushes you, because you're the one that's going to get penalized for it. You're the one that's going to get in trouble for it. They never get the guy who initiates contact. They always get the guy who retaliates. Don't be that guy that retaliates. That's all I'm saying. Let's try to win with a little bit more class. I'd like to see our organization represented a little bit better, and I just want to be one of those banner wavers of individuals that gives us a little bit more class amongst a sea of classless assholes that are out there. That's all I want. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for me. We'll catch you all next time. We got a huge game coming up here. I believe we got the Minnesota Vikings next. That's going to be one of the toughest games for us to win of the season, because that team is tough. We've already faced down the one of the best teams in the league right now in the Philadelphia Eagles, so we don't have to worry about them. But right now, the Minnesota Vikings are on the docket. We're extremely hurt. They know it. They're going to be playing at our home, which is going to be great because I hate going there. But big big opportunity coming up here for us to be able to show up against them. So that's going to do it for me, guys. We will catch you all next time. And for us fans of the Twin Feather, we ride together. Redskins for life. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.